the leader of the UK Independence Party, has likened some of those supporting Scottish independence to fascists. It follows a demonstration outside a UKIP event in Edinburgh yesterday when Nigel Farage was confronted by protesters and had to be escorted away in a police van. When pressed about his influence on Scottish politics on the radio this morning, he hung up on the interview, calling it insulting. The SNP said Mr Farage had lost the plot. Our Scotland correspondent James Cook has more details.
Right, there we go.
Nigel Farage, a man on the march in England, comes north to court the Scots.
The whole day just got better.
UKIP has no elected politicians in Scotland. But on Edinburgh's Royal Mile last night, its leader, who wants a tighter immigration policy, had plenty of noisy opponents.
Immigrants are welcome here. You are not welcome here.
In the end, Mr Farage was bundled into a police van for his own safety. And this morning, the row continued on the airwaves.
It was a demonstration dressed up as being anti-racism, but in fact in itself was deeply racist, with a total hatred of the English.
This is a hugely objectionable point you're making, isn't it? Suggesting that anti-English racism is somehow conflated with the campaign for a yes vote in the forthcoming independence referendum.
Oh, no. I mean, please believe me.
UKIP isn't part of Scottish political debate in any meaningful way, and you know very little.
I'm sensing similar hatred from this line of questioning that I got on the streets yesterday in Edinburgh. And frankly, I've had enough of this interview. Goodbye.
As he checked in to fly home, Nigel Farage was all smiles, but his message was less friendly. He called the protesters fascists.
I'm afraid there's been for a long time in Scotland an attempt to shout down and drown out any sort of debate, and I'm afraid that there are parts of the SNP and parts of the independence movement here that are deeply, deeply unpleasant. Everybody knows it and no one dares say it.
But the Scottish National Party says the UKIP leader has lost the plot.
He accused a BBC interviewer of showing the same, as he put it, hate towards him as people in Edinburgh had yesterday. Then you're dealing with someone who's out with the context of normal politics. So yes, we'll have a political debate and discourse in a proper way in Scotland. We can frankly do without UKIP, who dislike everybody and know absolutely nothing about Scotland.
All this seems a far cry from England, where UKIP won a quarter of the vote in this month's local elections. So why are things so different for Nigel Farage in Scotland?
He is indeed somebody for whom sense of Britishness and a sense of Englishness is pretty much interchangeable. So, for example, he says, look, these people wanted to tear down the Union Jack, they are anti-English. Well, the Union Jack's a British symbol, not particularly an English symbol.
Two men have been arrested and charged following last night's demonstration. Whatever else comes of it, Nigel Farage's foray north won't be forgotten in a hurry.
Well, we can speak to James Cook now in Glasgow. James, certainly we heard at least one opinion there about how UKIP and Mr Farage is perceived very differently in Scotland.
Yes, that's right, and I think to a certain degree he wasn't perceived at all until this visit. So in that sense, I think UKIP might regard this as being a case of any publicity is good publicity. The party really doesn't poll very highly at all here. It perhaps has only 1,000 members or so in Scotland. And Mr Farage was up here ostensibly to campaign ahead of a by-election for the Scottish Parliament next month. And I think he'll regard this as being very useful just to raise his profile. But equally, from the other side, the Scottish National Party, although it's obviously very careful to shy away from anti-Englishness, is trying to paint a picture of England being a different kind of country with different kind of politicians and a different direction of travel. And in that regard, this has been quite useful for them as well. So it will continue to play out, I think, in the referendum campaign.
Okay, James Cook in Glasgow, thank you.